Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I am super excited for my guest today. Oh, she has such an amazing journey, an amazing story. And so my guest today is Bron Watson. She is a nurse, an educator, an entrepreneur, and founder of the Social Coach and the Serenity Project. With decades of experience as a registered nurse and educator, Bron has long been drawn to spaces where care, communication, and connection matter. In 2012, she founded her first business, empowering business owners to share their voice online with authenticity and purpose. Over the past decade, her work has supported thousands of people to show up in life and in business with intention and impact. Bron's journey took a profound shift, though, in 2017 when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. 5 years later, she received a second diagnosis, an incurable blood cancer. These experiences deepened her belief that the healing isn't just physical, it is emotional, spiritual, and deeply personal. Rather than being defined by a diagnosis, she has created the Serenity Project, which was created to offer others what she wished she had had. The space where science meets soul, with evidence and perspective, what she calls the third space, a place to reconnect with yourself, navigate uncertainty with compassion, and find serenity in the midst of it all. Her story and the wisdom she brings from both the healthcare system and entrepreneurial world reflects in our message today, Refine and Shine, that through reflection, support, and aligned action, we can each become more of who we truly are. So thank you, Bron, for being here today.
Great to be here, and thank you for reading all of that. When you hear someone else read, it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, no, great to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. What I think is so amazing is you have had all of these diagnoses. You have been in the nurse care system. You became an entrepreneur and you're doing all of these things. And then you get these diagnoses. And what a lot of times I see people do is they let it stop you. They just like give up. But you are just like, nope, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and like all of these things. So just kind of take us like, how has that been something you've been like that person you've been all your life, or kind of take us through your journey?
Well, yeah, it's a great question because I do look back at times and think, how the heck did I get here? And you know what? I don't know. My mum was definitely a woman who never quit. So my mum came to Australia when she was a young child from Wales, from England, and well, not Wales and England, from the United Kingdom, from Wales, let's just clarify that. And, she did architecture because her father was an architect, but she was one of the first women to graduate from University of Sydney in Sydney. So I think my mum was never a quitter. But coming back to where I took that is I don't know if I was ever always that person, because when I look at where I'm now and the lessons and the work, when I say work, the things that I've done for myself, on myself, because if there's nothing more shocking than to have a cancer diagnosis and to bring you into reality, go, well, this is my life. Is this it? Is this what I wanted? This is where it's at? So no, I don't think I was always that person, because I really truly believe resilience can be learnt. I know for a fact it can be learnt, but it's more when you get to that crossroad of, well, and I've been there, and I can get there more often than you realise, is that, why am I doing this? Should I be doing this? Should I just be growing vegetables, and should I be making sourdough, which is fabulous, don't get me wrong, and spending the time on me. I am spending the time on me. I'm just sharing what I'm doing, sort of like a beta project. So when it comes to not quitting and being paralyzed with the fear, because that's what happens, as you and I know, you are paralyzed. And I'm working around with fear, is those fears are going to come. I have blood tests next week, and I don't know what next week holds, because I'm as good as my last blood results. But then it's the flexibility on how I live and work through that fear, is I think the best way to describe it, is being that flexible on finding a way that sits well with me. And then that in my place, in my world, is the resilience, which is finding a way to work through something that I can't change, which is what the Serenity Prayer is all about, which is where this all came about. So yeah, I think it's I don't think it's an innate thing. I think that everyone has an opportunity to work through it, because it's going to happen with or without you. It's still going to happen, isn't it? If you've got
Mhm.
something like a cancer diagnosis, it's going to happen. You might as well participate and be an active participant rather than a passive bystander and just let it happen.
Yes, I love that, and we can't control things that happen to us in certain ways, right? Like, the
No,
diagnoses and things like
no.
that. But what we can do is accept it, whatever it is. But are we going to let it take us, or are we going to let us ourselves learn? And I love this way that you said, like you're just going to like be resilient, and it was something you adapted, and you're like, well, I can just grow vegetables, or I can make an impact. And it's like, what do we want our legacy to be? And a lot of people
Mm,
think that legacy means, oh, I want to have these like a lots of money and all of these other things,
mm,
but it's the impact for me. It's like, who do I want to share my message with, and who do I want to help? And that's why we have the podcast, right? And I love the
mm.
Serenity Prayer and what you're doing with it. So can you kind of just talk to us about what is your project is all about?
Right. So the Serenity Project accidentally came about. I had never imagined in my wildest dreams that you and I'd be having this conversation, or that my place for me would be living every day with what I call serenity moments. And it's when those adversities come, and they come in different shapes and sizes. And I think that as you get older, for me, of my personal belief, and remembering, it's just what I believe, is that it's not a matter of if with an adversity, it's a matter of when. And it's not that you prepare for that, but it's around what happens next. So back in the day, I played basketball, believe it or not. I played basketball, and I was a guard, and we'd be playing the game, and then you'd point shoot, I'd get it in sometimes, which is why I wasn't at the back of the court. And sometimes it go in, sometimes it didn't. So when you have that game of the play, you can either focus on what's just happened, or you can focus on the next play. And that is pretty much what we do at Serenity Project. So the Serenity Prayer, for your listeners who are not familiar with what that means, there's a very, very old prayer that came about from Alcoholics Anonymous nearly 100 years ago. And it says, God grant me serenity to accept what I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And with God, it's whatever you believe. So I jokingly say it could be God, it could be the universe, it could be your higher spirit, it could be angels, it could be Dennis. So I'm not being disrespectful. It says, Dennis, grant me serenity. And what that does is that when those moments of adversity come, that's where that choice comes in. It's because it's not, when these things come, right, when those horrendous things come, your frontal cortex, it's turned off. It's just doing its thing, right? So there's a moment in there where we want to capture it and go, well, I don't have to do anything, but I'm just acknowledging that this is happening to me and I'm not going to do anything. That is being courageous, rather than trying to fix it all in one go. So Serenity Project is a space, and I call it where science meets soul with evidence and perspective. So it's for those people who are going through things like cancer, like me, with survivors or thrivers or their families, because you go and search this stuff online, you'd know, Angelina, with your clients and with what you've learned, you go do a search and you are going to get some really, really wacky things. And it's very hard to determine what's real and what's not. So it's basically a collective of not just myself. We have psychologists. I have experts in their field, all working to help support a person in the third space, which is where you're learning to be the best you can be with whatever's going on. And it's not about comparing yourself to someone else. It's not a to-do list of 1,000 things to do. It's literally a moment in time. And my favorite saying is be where your feet are, because that means you are a human being. The being part, you're not a human doing. So let's lose all the doing. Let's do the being, and that's exactly what you talk about with refine and shine, is when those, it's not coming out of the ashes. It's living with the ashes. It's scratching your way through it, because it will pass. And it's not about it's the next play. It's not 5 years. It's not 10 years. And if I can teach my boys, I have 5 boys. If I can teach my sons, that's my legacy, that I have demonstrated that they are able to live their life at the absolute fullest with serenity moments. And serenity is my word. It's an old word. When I talk to my people, I ask whatever your word is. Like, you'll have a word that is your word. That is where we're at. And if I can help people and influence people to take the time to do that, that's what we do at Serenity Project.
Ah, I love that. I love that. So when you founded this project, you founded it, was it in 2017 you founded, or is that when you
No,
got the second?
It's a good question. No, I didn't find it in 2017. That was the breast cancer diagnosis. So this was founded really only in 2025, but it's been coming. I actually wrote my first chapter of the book. So I was writing a book. The book was going to be the Serenity Project. And I actually wrote that even before the breast cancer, and I didn't know back then what I was writing. I mean, I knew what I was writing. I thought I knew what I was writing, and I found that chapter again in 2023, which is when I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is blood cancer. And I just looked back and I went, oh my goodness, did I write that? Because it was so relevant to where I was at that time. And it was like, okay, I think this is a moment in time where I'm going, you know what? I'm the beta test. So Serenity Project came by accident. It wasn't something that I'd planned. And so this is where it's at. And who knows where it's going to go next? So it's been a journey, let me say. Still is. I hate that word, but anyway, it is what it is.
So with Serenity Project, I mean, how do people get connected with it, and what what kind of services are provided with it?
Okay, so really, if people went to serenityproject.com.au is going to be the easiest place. serenityproject.com.au. And there's different things in there what you'll find. The main one thing that I would encourage people, if this is resonating in terms of they're facing their own adversity, is that we do a newsletter and it's called the check-in. And just do that. We do have a paid community, and that community is where my experts we hang out. That's only just launching now, so it's there. But my biggest encouragement is for people to just start slowing down enough to listen, and if they're not sure how to do that, that's where we come in. So that would be my hope for people, is that they will find their serenity, because it's not mine. What you need in life, Angelina, is very different to what I need. So it's just that's what it's for.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You talk a lot about emotional and spiritual, like the healing and things like that. Many people focus on just fixing their bodies, and they ignore their emotional, they ignore the spiritual well-being. Why do you think that the disconnect exists?
I think, well, I can only talk for me when I was diagnosed. And I think because it is such a trauma, because it is a major, major trauma. And so where I would encourage your listeners is to insert trauma of what's happened in your life here. So while I'm talking about cancer trauma, you're going to insert the big T, your trauma. And when those happen, you start researching or you start looking.
You unmuted yourself, or you muted yourself, and I can't unmute you.
How did I do that? There we
I don't
go.
know.
I'm back on. All right.
Okay.
So,
Let's go back to the sentence about the trauma, the big T and the
okay.
little t.
Yeah. So once you've inserted your trauma into the big T or the little t, so there's big traumas and there's little traumas. So having a diagnosis of cancer or a major adversity is a big T, obviously, right? So when that happens, you are in such a state, because the way I described it for myself was that I was in free fall. So I started researching, right? And if you start researching the medical stuff, or if you start researching things, you're going to really get even more traumatized, because you're not quite sure what you're reading. And before you know it, you've got yourself dead in 2 years, right? So where that came, now I've lost my train of thought. This is the benefit, this is the blessing of chemo. What was I going with the trauma? Can
We
you
were
just remind
talking
me?
about the spiritual, like how people don't pay
Yes.
attention to the disconnect.
That's it. So people go and find, because we as humans like to fix things. So we're going to go try to fix it. And when you've had a trauma like that, you immediately go, well, there must be something wrong with me. What have I done? What did I do to get cancer? Well, you know what? Maybe just bad shit happens to good people. Because if we waste all the time thinking of the basketball game here, we keep talking about what's just happened versus the next play. That's what I'm talking about, because we spend a lot of the time, this is what a lot of people do, is that they're looking at what happened. And I truly do believe, though, that whatever you want to use that learning of what's happened, but not from a blame and shame perspective, because it's not your fault. It's nobody's fault that these things happen. So, and then you go in there, and then you're going to change your diet, which, okay, great, do that. Exercise, great, do that. Go and do all the things. And then it's the questions of, oh, so you're doing that kind of treatment, are you? Which is, I hate the word alternative. I believe it's just all treatment. You're either doing Western treatment or you're doing alternative treatment. To me, that's all treatment. And no one, I'd love to lose that word, because it's not real. It's not fair, because what does it do? It's putting a judgment on someone. If someone wants to do whatever they want to do, we have to love them through it. So the disconnect comes because we're just focusing on something we can fix. And physical things are way easier to fix than the internal work of our psychology, of our spirit, of everything that's inside. So when we start to combine that and look at someone as a human being, I did a stem cell transplant as part of my treatment. So I had a stem cell transplant, which is a bone marrow transplant of my own bone marrow and my own baby stem cells back in July 2023. Because I knew what was going on, even though I don't know anything about hematology at the time, but because I'm very familiar with a hospital setting and I'm familiar with nursing and I'm familiar with what's going on, and I did not get asked once how I was internally going. People say,
Mhm.
"How are you, Bron?" "Oh, good. I'm doing fine." It's not how are you feeling, Bron? Because if they'd looked beyond the show, I was not good. How could you possibly be good? And so that's where we find it. And with what you've learned and what you know in life, when you're going beyond the surface, it's you open the floodgates. So
Mhm.
that's why when we're looking at it, you want to look at the whole picture. And I was brought to my knees with the blood cancer. Now that one was I don't want to. That was enough for me to go. I used to sit outside our house during the whole diagnosis time. It took a while, and I'd sit out there and I'd be going, "Oh, please, please, God, give me time. Give me time." When I say God, insert your God.
Mhm.
Please give me time. Please give me time. I didn't get time. Got the diagnosis. Bron, we're starting chemo next week. Hang on a minute here. And this is what we talk about, the pause. And now I know that if I had my time again, I have now the confidence and the resilience to go, hang on, we are going to address all of the things that are going on right now. And that is not what happened for me. So we look at the physical, we separate it out. I don't know why. I don't know. I think it's a human thing that it's hard for us to see someone suffering and we don't know what to say.
Mhm.
You don't say, you just have to acknowledge that person. You cannot fix it. So the quicker we learn that we can't fix everything and that we just look at the next play and it's their next play. So if they're rattling on and they're going on to 4 years and 5 years, and oh my God, what am I going to do in 5 years? Hang on a minute. What are you going to do in the minute now? That's the gift, is what are we doing now? How are we feeling now in this moment, not in 3 weeks' time? Because 3 weeks' time is going to happen whether no matter what you do. So, I talk about that, today is the day that you spent last week worrying about.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we can learn how to unlearn that by bringing everything of that person together versus let's go vegan. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's
Mhm.
just let's go vegan and let's look at all of the parts of that person at a space that they want to do, playing their play, if that makes sense.
No, I love that. I love that. And I love how you said like you gotta like the whole basketball analogy. I used to be a basketball player. Middle school, I played basketball. And so quite some time ago, but I was a forwarder. And but I love how you said that. You gotta just like, okay, you made the basket, you may have missed. Okay, but are you gonna dwell on that? Or are you just gonna, like focus on the next play? But and that's what we fail to do in life. We're always like
We do.
we spend so much time thinking about all the mistakes that we did or all the things that are happening to us and trying to figure out like when bad things happen, why did this happen? What did I do wrong? And all of these things. I'm actually in the book reading the book of Job right now in the Bible. And it's like just like all of these things happened to him, but it wasn't anything he did wrong. And and it's just life happens. Like life is
Life
lifing, right?
happens. Mm.
But what we need to do is as we go through each day, instead of thinking about, okay, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, which I'm a time management and organizational person. So I
You
kind of,
are.
I plan those things out, but you got to also, there's time for rest. And I always tell people, you got to rest and you got to like let go of the things you can't control. But one of the
Mm,
things you can do, and I encourage everybody to do this, is every day celebrate your wins. Every day you did
absolutely.
something successful, whether you couldn't get out of bed the day before, but today you got out of bed because you were feeling really good. It's like all of these things. I'm really into the mental health space, and I see so
Mm,
many people suffer. I have loved ones that have mental health issues, and I see
mm,
all the things, and I've been through depression, and it's like just getting out of bed is a win. And sometimes you have to, that is, if that's all you did today and you made your bed, then you celebrate that. Don't think about all the things you didn't do. Think about what you were
Exactly.
able to accomplish because life is short and we have to just stop thinking about all the other things of the negative and think about the positives. And I think that that's so important.
And it is, like there's one thing I do talk about because obviously when you're in the thick of something, such as depression, that's adversity. You didn't
Mhm,
choose it. You didn't say,
mhm,
I think I'm going to get depressed. No, it's a human reaction to a major trauma or a
mhm,
trauma. And remembering when you talk about major trauma versus like big T's and little T's, hang on, it's the person's description. It's not for you to say, oh, is that it? That all you got? Like in my world, you can look at someone's trauma compared to an incurable diagnosis of cancer. It's like, okay, let's just put this into perspective. It's not my point. It's got nothing to do with me, how they feel about their trauma. But I call this thing, it's called the one thing, which is exactly what you're talking about. So rather than saying, I'm going to clean the lounge room, you're going to go, the one thing is, as you're walking past, you pick up one thing and you put one thing away. That's it. And then the next time you walk past, the one thing, that's right, one thing, pick up. You can tell I'm sitting at a desk. You pick up and they're on the desk. The one thing, open the drawer, put the stapler away. So now I've done another one thing. And when you're talking about those, because gratitude is so powerful because you're thanking for yourself, Bron. Well done. You did one thing. And it's not cleaning the whole room because you might not have energy.
mhm.
Have you heard the spoon theory? I can never remember the beautiful woman who's created this whole theory. It's called the spoon theory, right? And it's all about energy. So where I come from now in business and in life, I always talk about it. It's about energy. And when I talk about energy, I'm literally talking about energy to do things. And with the spoon theory, you say that there's 10 spoons of energy in one day because everyone's energy is not infinite, it is finite. So it's a 10 spoon day. Bron gets up, she's talking on the podcast with Angelina, then she's off to do this and take the niece to the shops and all of the things, right? Because Bron's got lots of energy. So she's going to slowly work through those spoons, and by the end of the day, she might have one spoon left. But there are days when Bron might only have 2 spoons of energy. I need to be very, very mindful and very, very conscious where I'm going to be spending that energy. So it's a really simple way to understand that energy, and that is part of where I'm at, where I've learned, but how I live, but how I be in this world, whether it's be the social coach business or whether it be the Serenity Project, doesn't matter. Whereas as a mum, it's around being so aware of my energy because you are going to be the best for you when you understand that you can live a day exactly how you need to and then get to the end of it and go, wow, well done you, Bron. You did an amazing job. And you might think, oh, Bron, that sounds weird. It's not weird. We made it through, well done. And it could be the fact that you literally got out of bed and you had a
Mhm,
shower. Well
mhm,
done. That was just the best. And so I liken it to like my healthy Bron voice and like my cheer squad. And then there could be my reality
mhm.
of, man, it's not a good day today. And I don't have good days all the time. No way. There are plenty of days when I go, you know what, I just want to pack it all in. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna do the things and whatever. But we want to bring the cheerleader to the reality, and the closest we can bring them together, the more that you feel. And I can tell you now, gratitude, for me, gratitude is one of the best things you can do to do that. And it's the little one moment at a time, one thing at a time. Um, and when you start doing the one thing and you're consciously aware that you're doing one thing for yourself versus I'm going to clean the pantry, well, the ADHDers will probably go and then focus on cleaning out the pantry, but that's fine because they've decided their spoons of energy all come together. Does that all? I just realize I'm rambling on here.
No, I love that. I love the spoon theory, and, I had a friend who actually, she was been on one of my podcasts, but she had an issue, she had a coma, she had a stroke, a Ponzi stroke, and she focused on the spoons, like, what could she do with the spoon theory? And so I understand it, and it's like, whatever we do, though, we all have our different measurement of spoons. And especially, like people who are dealing with chronic illness and things like that, it may take them 2 spoons to shower, right? And
Exactly.
for some of us who aren't dealing with that right now, it may like a half a spoon. But the whole point is we all have our own levels of energy and how we're measuring them by. And you can't say put 2 people together and say that you expect the same thing out of each one of them, because we're all going through different things. And the thing that's important is that we cannot borrow spoons for the
We
next day.
cannot borrow. That's what I mean. It's finite. It is finite when those spoons are empty. And that's where I think the resilience versus relentless, and especially in the entrepreneur space with that hustle and the push through, is to push through those spoons, because that's what businesses do. That's what you're meant to do. It's like, no, 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 you're not.
I think that rest is so important. And in fact, sometimes we kind of push and push and push and we're not resting. And then we burn out and then we crash. And then we spend 3 days doing nothing because we're so burnt out. But if we actually balance, and I'm not saying balance because everybody hates the work-life balance, but we know our own energy levels. We know who we are. And I always tell people, like, you schedule your time based on your energy. You schedule what you're going to do based on your energy. Energy is so important. If you're going to call your customers or, do your reach outs and you're drained, that's not the best time to do it. When you are feeling good, you just finished a workout, you're motivated, that's when you do your call-ins, and you're in control of your schedule as much as you can. But one of the things is that rest is important. And in fact, when we rest, it helps our body slow down, our brain to slow down. And I actually find that I am more productive if I get a day of rest in than if I keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And even, in the Bible, it talks about rest. Everybody,
Yes,
there's
it
a
does.
day of rest is okay. And you don't have to think that you have to fill out your calendar. There's 24 hours in a day, and 21 of those hours you should be doing something. That's not the way it works. And so
It
I think
is
that that's
not.
important. And I love how you're saying that, like, if there's days, then, we all have days, and, celebrate the shower, celebrate that you, whatever. And I think that when you're in the shower, and I know this sounds kind of weird and I'm probably off tangent, but people are always thinking about, like, you're talking about the I shouldn't say football, but the basketball
Basketball.
player. When you're in the shower, don't think about everything else you have to do. Enjoy that shower.
Yeah.
There is a time and a place. If you're thinking about all the things that your calendar or whatever you have to do, you're just not really fully enjoying that shower. And enjoy that shower. And then when you're going to work, then think about all the work things. When you're at work, don't think about them when you're eating dinner with your family. Like, cherish the time that you're with your loved ones, and be intentional of whatever you're doing. So intentionally take that shower without thinking about, I got to take this meeting, I got to be on this podcast, I got to, like, stop, right?
Mm.
Because
Oh,
that helps us
100%.
surrender.
It does. And the thing is, though, and that can be learned, because for me, that does not come naturally. I'm always thinking of the next thing. When I say the next thing, it's like the 5,000 things. Like for me, I know that when I get into bed at night, that's when my brain starts to really do its thing. Woo, round we go. We got this whole thing going on. And remembering that. So honestly, you can talk to, do a voice memo to get that out of your head. Don't try to do it, but just get it out of your head. Don't do anything with it, and then go to sleep. And then you
Mhm.
wake up in the morning, you listen to and go, what the heck was all of that? And it's just, especially like my memory is actually nothing like what it was. So I actually forget things a lot.
Mhm.
So I've got, systems in place and people to help me keep me on task. And when I say it's on task, it's not a rigid task, right? Because if you're rigid and things change and you have suddenly 2 spoons instead of 10, it's about the flexibility when that happens. And I think when you're talking about rest, I talk about the path of healing. So when it comes to cancer, we always use the word cure. And it's not till you're in the other lane, which is the incurable lane, that you realize that you don't have what everyone else is focusing on. But everyone can focus on healing, not healed because it means we're already there. Healing, the path of healing. And I literally, I did a video on social media where I got my phone in and I typed healing into it, and it's the little blue line to healing, that little GPS line. If something happens or there's a change, an unexpected change, because guess what? That's what happens it will always recalibrate back. So within that, sleep is and rest. So there's rest and there's sleep. So they're two different things. But rest is to literally, it's like, you charge your phone, don't you? No one thinks about not charging their phone. Always put the phone on charge before we go to bed. Well, what about charging yourself? And that's what rest is. So if you think, now I've got people going from basketball to playing to phones.
No, I
But
love it.
in all seriousness, we all put a lot of effort and that's what we've got to charge our phone. So that is the exact same thought that we want to have for the one thing, which is I'm recharging myself, because you are energy and it is not infinite.
I love that. I never even thought about that, and I'm going to start using that. I'm going to borrow that from you about
You can take it.
about charging the phone, because like we panic. Some people panic if their phone is like the bar goes lower and they're like, only got 20% left. I got to get it charged. But we don't think about it the same for ourselves.
No.
And that is such a great way.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about with healing. That's what I talk about when it's the basketball play. It's and that's where that's pretty much at the end of resilient, the Serenity Project, is that moment in time. Because if you can think of yourself like a phone, that's just, now we're getting wacky, but you know what I mean? And you're going to go, cool, I know, because I can feel it when my energy, and I know when I'm pushing it. And yes, of course, there are times when I push it. Guys, we are not here as walking, talking. Yes, I'm always recharging at 20%. No. But I can feel it, and I can feel that I'm in the red zone. And when you're in the red zone, if you can just I'm in the red zone. And that you go, I'm going to sit down for half an hour. I'm not going to scroll, but I might just rest, or I might listen to a podcast, or I might just sit, and I go and sit with my dogs for 10 minutes. And I look outside and and I consciously say, Bron, no, we're not doing anything. We are just being here. We're going to be here. We're going to enjoy the little fluffy wrap bag next to me. And that's recharging myself. That's all it is. We can, if we become more conscious of that, our entire world will shift. Because even when you're on a two spoon day, you're still to listen to yourself, and that's bringing the parts together and going, you know what, I'm putting myself on charge.
I love that. I think that's so good. One of the things I wanted to, that came to my mind is, when I talked and read your bio, you've helped thousands of people, right? In business and in life. What's your definition of success? And has it changed over time?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So in nursing, let's just start back at the beginning with nursing. My success was that I improved my patients' day, life, health, holistic nursing back in the day. If I walked out of that on my shift, that was success. When I was in the classroom as an educator at university, at TAFE, wherever, my success for me was that I encouraged and got through to my students that they were just second year, second semester. You're not an eighth year thereafter. So please don't put the pressure on yourself that you're going to be something that you clearly are not. So just be. And I didn't even know, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't even realize what I was doing, but I was telling people to be where their feet were. And then in business, I didn't know what I didn't know. So I had mentors who were amazing, and I learned the most incredible things. And, you learn to define your own success. And for some, that means dollars. For some, it could be a team. For some, it could be X amount of clients. But come through when reality really, really hit, not once, but twice. So it's changed. After the breast cancer, it was this. And then obviously where it is now, absolutely, it's completely different. Success for me right now is that I am aware and acknowledge my serenity moments, one moment at a time. So I talk about serenity moments because we're not going to sit here for 3 hours and meditate. I don't know about you, but I don't think I could physically do that, because I reckon I'd be off somewhere else going, oh, what are we doing now? Versus the moment. because people love to say when you've got incurable cancer, Bron, you need to make memories. If one more person says that to me, I'm going to go, no, you need to make your own memories. But the moments, those serenity moments of time, they do make memories. And one of my favourite sayings, which is actually on my coffee mug because it's so early here in Australia, is that it's called make every day count. That is my success. And it's whatever that is on the day. And it's not the doing. It's just at the end of the day, if Bron has been a human being and charged myself and done all the things. It's not about ticking off. It's not when I hold my arm up, because I always imagine when I'm talking about a list of things to do, I don't know why, for some reason I think they're on my arm, is that there's a whole list of things to do. No. I mightn't have done any of them, but I have made this day count for me. That's success, which is nothing to do. And that's how in business, even now, is if I have made this day count for me. Because if I make it for me and I have my clients, that automatically goes out like you get a rock and you throw it into a pond. The ripples will just go and go and go. That is what making every day counts. So in the ripples, that's where you've got the money, the things, and all the other ways that we look at defining and measuring success. Because I start with my well done, Bron. We did make today count.
I love that. I love that. That's so good.
It's very different to what you'll hear in business. It would have been, if you spoke to me 7 or 8 years ago, you would not have even heard anything remotely like that.
No, I love that. I love that. As we wrap up, though, I would love to know, how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, so if we go to serenityproject.com.au, that's the best way to go in there. You can contact, I'm obviously on LinkedIn, Bron Watson. Same with Facebook and Instagram, Bron Watson. So they're the names of my pages. Any questions, because what happens a lot of the time when we have these conversations is that people come up with questions. Send it through. I have a beautiful little link on my website, and you can actually, for some people, typing can be a problem. So you can actually send me a voice message and I'll answer you, because I know what it's like to have no spoon days. And any questions, just please send them through, because I'm sure between you and I, Angelina, we can come up with some solutions and also some ways to make it real. So not just talk about stuff, but walk it as well.
I love that. I love that. That's so good. So one of the things that I always ask all my guests, and first, I'll also make sure that I have all your links in the show notes too. So listeners, if you're listening to this, we make sure you just, look at the show notes as well. Follow her. She's amazing. And you just see all the things that she's about. Because I think that, to have the smile and all the things with, the diagnosis is all the things that she's been through. And she's still smiling and she's, here for us. I think that that's so important. But one of the things I always ask my listeners is, what is a word, a phrase, a thing, some type of action, a book they can read, anything that comes to your mind on how they can take the action today in order to help them refine and shine?
Well, where I'm at right now is, I say, be where your feet are. You're a human being. You are not a human doing. So if you are consciously aware of where your feet are and be in the moment, it will pass.
I love that. I love that.
That's it. Be where your feet are. And just don't try to fix it. Just let it just be there.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm just so grateful. And with the Refine and Shine, what you're doing is just fantastic. And the stories that you're sharing, people, please get on it, because it's well worth a listen.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions,
questions, or success stories you'd like to share. As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.